And a very happy Monday to you at 12:08 in the West. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Broadcasting live, well, from you-know-where. Mr. Randy Wings in Culver City.
John, private citizen, former congresswoman, and UC Irvine law professor Katie Porter is mad.
I'm not going to say good morning because it's not a good morning.
Whoa. You don't hear that in the Folgers commercial.
She maybe hasn't had her caffeine yet.
I'm not going to say good morning because it's not a good morning.
Should we see why she's mad?
What pissed her off this time?
President Trump has shut down the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
How long is this video?
Uh-oh.
The CFPB, an agency that does only one thing: make sure we have a fair economy.
Do we?
Well, if we do, it's not going to be because of that organization. That I can promise you.
How could anybody be against that? And the CFPB works. In its 10-plus years of existence, it's returned nearly $20 billion to consumers in real checks.
That's it?
How many people in the country?
In real checks, canceled debt, monetary relief. And it's sought and received $5 billion in civil monetary penalties.
That's not that much.
Everyone running for office wants to be a consumer reporter. They all want to be Marvin Zindler.
Well, it's one of the most fun reporting jobs. You just get to report on people being bad.
This is an agency that helps businesses who play by the rules not get disadvantaged by those who cheat. And it helps consumers do business by making sure that we're not going to get scammed when we go to buy a house or take out a student loan.
Yeah, those things are still happening, though.
Just try to do it.
President Trump's arguments is completely specious here. He seems...
You mean R?
Yeah, I was just thinking that same thing. I am not the grammar police, but even I caught that one.
President Trump's arguments is completely specious here. He seems to...
She's a professor.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
President Trump's arguments is completely specious here. He seems to be suggesting that the CFPB is somehow out of control. What a bunch of bull...
Whoa!
Whoa! Potty mouth Porter.
And, of course, she didn't bleep that. I had to bleep that. My virgin ears were defiled by Katie Porter.
So, wait, she put the cursing on her social media page?
Yes.
Little D.
I got to save that one. That is a perfect Katie Porter drop. Now, there's not going to be that many uses for them unless she decides that she needs to comment on social media to every little thing that's going on in the national government now. But let me save Katie Porter BS. I already have one called Katie Porter BS.
What does that one say?
Well, let's go dig it up. I had to call this one Katie Porter BS too, but if we go into the drops folder, we go to the Katie Porter file, and we look at Katie Porter BS. This was from December 2023.
Don't believe the BS.
But this time she actually said it.
What?
She said the B, and then she said the S.
What a bunch of bull...
You know, she could be the next governor of California. According to all of the latest polls, she is polling in first place.
Please.
She's polling above Antonio Villaraigosa, above Eleni Kounalakis, above Steve Hilton, above Chad Bianco, above Rob Bonta, above all of them.
Now, I don't think they've done a poll with Katie Porter since Kamala was rumored to be in this thing, but she might be neck and neck with Kamala.
And the last time Katie Porter made news was when she said that she was an abused spouse. Remember that?
Why, yes. Yes, I do.
Not that anyone wants to start their lunch break thinking about Katie Porter on her knees begging.
President Trump's arguments is completely...
You know, Randy, a lot of people say they have a hard time believing they could ever see Katie Porter on her knees begging due to an abused spouse. But not me. I can. You know what I picture her saying?
What's that?
Come on, get out from under that bed and fight me like a man.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. President Trump's arguments is completely specious here. He seems to be suggesting that the CFPB is somehow out of control. What a bunch of bull. In fact, it's in 2021 to 2024, years where Democrats were in charge under President Biden, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau filed 20 to 30 enforcement actions a year. And each of those only came after careful investigation and efforts to try to get the company to just follow the law. Look, this one's personal for me.
Okay, when you do that, it's obvious you're reading a script.
Yeah, the delivery on this is a little hackish.
Look, this one's personal for me. I got my start in public service trying to make sure that everybody has a fair shot in our economy. And the reason...
And then you campaigned about earmarks and nobody cared.
Every time she wants to get serious with a statement, she sounds like she's getting ready to hit you.
And the reason President Trump is taking executive aim at the CFPB is because he knows there's no chance that any elected official, Democrat or Republican, would want to vote to do something that hurts every single American, consumers.
Well, there you have it.
Look, this one's personal for me.
It sure is, Katie. It sure is.
The pride and joy of the state of Iowa.
You imagine you are about to start a new semester at UC Irvine, and that's your teacher?
You may want to look to drop the class.
Do you think she is one of those professors that makes the entire lesson about her instead of about the law?
100%.
Like, please.
Now, as Randy mentioned before, there could be one big impediment to Katie Porter becoming the next governor of the state of California. And that impediment could be in the form of the former vice president of these United States, Kamala Harris.
What a bunch of bull.
Who is certainly looking and acting like a candidate for office here in California.
That's because on Thursday, Kamala Harris toured the fire damage with reporters and, of course, got asked by a whole bunch of them if she's running for governor, including Alex Michelson.
Vice President Kamala Harris making her first public appearance in weeks today, and I caught up with her in both Pacific Palisades and Westwood.
During the height of fear, you are fearless.
Former Vice President.
Never heard that one before.
She might be worse with the cliches than Rob Bonta, but she just repeats the same ones over and over and over again. He seems to have a bigger arsenal than her.
Former Vice President Kamala Harris thanks first responders and surveys fire damage in Pacific Palisades for the first time. What goes through your mind when you see this? You're here.
By the way, she's a private citizen now. What exactly do we get out of her touring the fire damage?
Oh, can you imagine if Mike Pence or Al Gore or Dan Quayle decided to come down here and tour the fire damage? The cops would say, I don't care who you used to be. Show me your proof of residency.
What goes through your mind when you see this? You're here. You're now seeing it up close.
It's not only seeing it, Alex. You can smell it. You can feel it, right? So it's seeing it with our eyes, and many people have seen it. You all are covering it. But to literally be on the ground here, you can smell the smoke that was here. You can feel the...
I think she could smell that from her Brentwood home.
Feel the toxicity, frankly, of the environment.
Oh, we got so close.
One word away.
Toxicity, frankly, of the environment. You can feel the energy of all of the folks who are still here on the ground.
Resident Jamie Longo in tears seeing Harris in her community.
The fact that she would come down to, our community and
She lives in Brentwood.
They're acting like she did something out of the ordinary. Politicians view scenes like this all the time.
And she is currently not in any position of power to do anything. She is a ex-vice president.
the fact that she would come down to, our community and and see the devastation, it means everything.
Boy, you got a low bar, lady.
LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath giving the tour.
Oh, God.
She's the docent.
Quite frankly.
And expressing gratitude for the Biden-Harris administration immediately approving federal disaster aid without conditions.
You personally called. You've been personally attentive to what's happening on the ground from the moment this started.
Kamala personally doesn't know who Lindsay Horvath is and doesn't care to find out.
No. The only way she will ever care to find out is if she wants to run for governor and wants her endorsement.
From the moment this started.
One of the things they wanted the former vice president to see is this burnt-out mobile home, evidence that there's a lot of different kinds of properties that burned.
As we think about the future, we must, as a society, as a country, invest in adaptation and resilience. And we have to understand these extreme weather occurrences are extreme, but they are increasingly less rare.
Harris also visiting the Westwood Recreation Center,
Come here.
a temporary home for fire evacuees. There, she's asked directly, are you running for California governor?
I have been home for 2 weeks and 3 days.
She ain't answering the question.
Oh, no. And by the way, talk about going through a spate of bad luck. Your home burns down in the fire. You're living in some facility in Westwood. And then you have a politician coming by to float the idea that she's going to run to be governor.
I have been home for 2 weeks and 3 days.
Oh, I don't miss that laugh.
Yeah, no kidding.
2 weeks and 3 days. My plans are to be in touch with my community, to be in touch with the leader.
How about a gap year? Do you want to go explore the world?
People do that sometimes when they graduate from high school before they go to college. Go see the world.
To be in touch with the leaders and figure out what I can do to support them.
Does seeing this change the way you think about the question of whether to run for governor?
It's not going to work, Alex.
No. But he did shout it.
I am here.
And I am clear.
She likes to remind you of that.
We are clear and have been clear. I am here and would be here regardless of the office I hold, because it is the right thing to do.
No, that you would not be touring the fire damage and meeting with the victims unless you had plans to run for something. This is as crass as it gets, because you know what you're doing? You're in the way.
If she wasn't contemplating running for governor, she'd be on the beach in Maui somewhere.
And would be here regardless of the office I hold, because it is the right thing to do, which is to show up in your community and thank the folks who are on the ground.
On Inauguration Day, Kamala Harris had a chance to speak with incoming VP J.D. Vance and incoming President Donald Trump. Trump about this. A Harris advisor tells me Trump and Harris have spoken multiple times behind the scenes about California wildfires, with the former vice president stressing the need to fully fund disaster relief efforts without conditions.
And that's when Trump on the text message hits the laughing emoji.
What standing does she have to negotiate anything with the current president?
0.
As every president has done before. Harris has not weighed in publicly on Trump's performance as president so far, while privately she's contemplating her own future. Are you ready to support her for governor?
If she's running, I'm interested to know that. I know that there are certainly a lot of stories out there, but I think she has a lot of support here.
Oh, Lindsay Horvath.
And again, totally dodged the question.
Of course. Well, she doesn't want to box herself in. She thinks that endorsement is valuable.
She doesn't want to piss her off if she runs and wins, because certainly she would start out with the most name ID. But if Kamala doesn't run, they also don't want to upset Eleni, because Eleni is one of the richest people in the state of California. So if Lindsay wants to run for mayor of Los Angeles or U.S. Senate or some other office someday, she's certainly going to want the endorsement and the financial support of someone like Eleni. So she doesn't want to upset her if she doesn't have to.
Now, have we thought about the dynamics of if Kamala runs, what that would do to her incredibly close friendship with Eleni Kanellakis, who, as I recall, calls her to tell her that it's Kamala's birthday?
For Californians.
Yeah, that was a bizarre statement.
Lainey is a bizarre person.
Interesting to see. And the fact that she is highlighting this issue of all issues gives you an indication at least she's leaving the door open to the possibility of running for governor if she hasn't decided yet.
But if you run for governor and you either run as the status quo, which doesn't really seem like a good idea right now, or you got to run trashing Gavin. Is she going to run trashing Gavin? Is she going to throw Gavin under the bus for letting the state burn down?
No, she would do the exact same thing that she did when she ran to replace Grampy Joe. What's a big difference between you and Grampy Joe? Well, I can't think of one. What's the big difference between you and Gavin? The answer is going to be, well, I can't think of one.
Yeah, I don't think it's a guarantee that she could win this thing if she runs.
No, I think, in fact, I'll go one step further. If she is the Democratic candidate for governor in California, I think a Republican could win. Because she has no idea what to do about the insurance crisis. She has no idea what to do about the budget deficit. She has no idea what to do about homelessness or crime. In fact, she's been boxed in on all of those issues because she had to run in a Democratic primary for president on taking the most extreme position on every single one of those things. I don't see, if you're unhappy with the direction of the state, how you could then get behind someone who is unwilling to criticize any of Gavin's policies and then take a position that's worse than his on every single one of them.
We are doing it.
If we were to elect that as governor, we'd be suicidal.
What is her role in all of this? Will she be consulting officials moving forward?
Her role is to get attention, Marla.
And that she's getting.
Forward in the recovery process?
And using her relationships to try to push forward where she can be helpful.
Okay, where, anywhere, does Kamala have influence?
She has none. In fact, you talk to people in the Democratic Party, they're all upset with her performance.
I'll go further. Name any former vice president that has any influence over anything.
No, but this one in particular. You look at interviews with Nancy Pelosi recently, who was the one that launched the coup of Grampy Joe, and they ask her if she regrets doing it because the Democrats ultimately lost anyway, and Joe says that he could have beat Trump, and Kamala obviously didn't. And Nancy Pelosi's answer was not, oh, she ran a great campaign and she lost and there was nothing we could do. Pelosi's answer is, I didn't want either one of them.
We love everybody.
Sure you do.
Obviously, the Biden-Harris administration set aside a lot of money while she was still in there. But it'll be interesting to see what she does going forward.
All right. There you go. Is Kamala running? Probably. Would she win? Not so sure.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, we're receiving some requests for some drops in combination that would probably get you called into a meeting.
I appreciate the creativity, but if you are thinking about a combination of drops that sounds dirtier than stuff you usually hear on the radio show, chances are I'm not going to do it.
But if you want to go back and listen to a past show that, well, Randy did decide to indulge you in whatever sound drop requests that you made, Randy, that's easy to do.
Like, let's say you want to educate yourself on who exactly this Katie Porter person is.
Look, this one's personal for me.
Go to KABC.com, click on podcasts. Go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes.
Please.
Do a Google on the YouTube.
Little D.
Or get that handy-dandy KABC app.
No.
Search KABC AM in the Apple App Store or the Android Store. It's the easiest way to listen live to this radio station.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
And download all the podcasts.
What a bunch of bull.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Oh, no, I didn't print that out. Hold on. Here we go. Yes, let's do it. 790 KABC welcomes David Foster and Chris Body at the Greek Theater on July 19th. Tickets are on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing.
Well, they're still trying to determine fault for many of the fires that were recently started here in Southern California. There is new video that has been produced that could be a piece of damning evidence against Southern California Edison if this were to ever go to trial.
Yet another video from yet another angle shows yet more evidence of sparks coming off of SoCal Edison transmission towers right around the time the Eaton fire started that burned down Altadena. For more on the latest, here is NBC4.
Information revealed today raises another possibility for the cause of the Eaton fire. Never before seen video obtained by NBC4 shows the first moments of the fire burning below a specific electrical tower in the hills above Altadena. Our investigative reporter Eric Leonard joins us live right now with a story you'll see for the first time and only right here on 4. Eric.
Well, this new video clip we're going to show you, it's very short, shows flames below the electrical towers where it's believed the Eaton fire started. It is similar to...
Yeah, that's pretty damning.
Yeah, no kidding.
It is similar to several other clips we've shared in recent weeks that have focused the investigation into the cause on those high voltage power lines that cross the foothills. What's new here is the perspective. This video shows the first flames were at the base of only one of the towers, which was supposed to be disconnected from power. Now, Southern California Edison has suggested it could very well be part of the explanation for how the Eaton fire ignited.
The problem with this is, even if they are responsible, they will pass on the cost of dealing with that to the ratepayers, just like PG&E did.
It also goes to show you what their strategy is, because this was not a story that they shied away from. They made their executives available for public comment on this because they believed they were not responsible, even when there was video that showed what looked like their equipment being responsible for the fire. If this video confirms what we saw in the previous video and leads investigators to believe that Southern California Edison started this fire and is responsible for all of the damage that the fire started, it shows you that even vocally defending yourself doesn't really mean much in terms of whether or not you actually did it.
A few seconds of video captured by a resident close to where the Eaton fire started on January 7th recorded flames below one of 3 electrical towers on a hillside. The metadata on the video clip shows it was recorded at 6:14 p.m. from the back of a home nearby. The person who recorded it does not want to be identified. What's significant is that the video clip shows the first flames were burning under the tower shown on the right. That's an old, decommissioned Southern California Edison tower, meaning its lines never carry live electricity. The path of that dead line, called the Mesa-Sylmar Circuit, is shown in green on this map, and the line ends right at the spot the Eaton fire started.
This doesn't look good for them.
No, it doesn't.
In a new document filed by Southern California Edison with state regulators today, it says it's exploring the possibility that somehow that deadline was momentarily energized.
Yeah, you know, the CEO goes out and does all those interviews, but when they have to make their regulatory filings to the regulators at the CPUC, they admit that their equipment caused the Hearst fire, which luckily didn't burn down any homes, and said, yeah, it's possible maybe our equipment had something to do with it when it comes to the Eaton fire.
I wonder why they just don't say anything at all, because if you were listening to your attorney, typically attorneys say silence is gold and duct tape is silver. Don't go out and say anything that can be used against you if you were to be sued at a future date. Well, in this particular case, the executive for Edison went out and talked, and now, by their own admission, they could be responsible for starting this fire.
Energized in the high winds on the night of the fire, writing, SCE is evaluating a number of potential causes, including whether the idle Mesa-Sylmar transmission line could have become energized. And
why do you have old lines that aren't even in use to begin with?
Why that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, why has that not been taken down? It's almost like we don't have any regulators to hold these private company monopolies accountable.
And the extent to which that line or its grounding could be related to the cause of the fire.
One would not expect an unenergized line to come to life.
Electrical engineer Ken Buskey, who's investigated more than 1,000 fires, says it's possible for dead lines to become electrified through a phenomenon called induction, which can happen when energized lines nearby get close to the dead line, like in high wind conditions.
The induced.
So that is a known fire danger that's just been sitting there.
Well, then why not remove it?
Well, that would cost money.
The induced currents and voltages in the dead line can cause arcing through a bad connection. And so you can have arcing that causes a fire.
So you had an old tower, you decommissioned it, built a new tower next to it, and then never took down the old tower or the lines that could be a fire hazard in high winds in a high wind area.
And not doing that could bankrupt your entire company.
You know, I'm starting to see why all the law firms were going after SoCal Edison on day one.
We had that attorney on who was suing Southern California Edison, and I remember you and I talked about it. We thought, well, maybe this guy's a little bit quick here to file a lawsuit against them before the investigators have ever determined fault. But I'm sure that these attorneys caught wind of these videos and said, all right, we got him dead to rights. Let's move quick.
If the grounding isn't proper, even though the line's dead.
He says it's unlikely the induction alone would cause a spark, but if the connection to that third tower wasn't grounded properly, heat and sparks would be possible.
Because it is the end of the line, and that's where it's grounded. That's where the arcing and sparking takes place, because there's a contact between the grounding and the tower.
Southern California Edison has said in court and in public that it has not found direct evidence that its live lines sparked the Eaton fire. But
have other people found that direct evidence?
Well, I don't know if we can say with 100% certainty that they caused it, but let's just put it this way. It's not looking good.
But about 2 weeks ago, after some gas station security video emerged that showed sparks falling from the area of those towers, Edison said it was continuing to investigate the possibility some of its equipment played a role. The cause of the fire remains under investigation by LA County Fire Arson. I'm investigative reporter Eric Leonard, NBC4 News.
There is the latest on SoCal Edison possibly being responsible for burning down the community of Altadena.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Noel writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com and says, SoCal Edison really could have used the help of copper wire thieves for that tower. It's not wrong.
No kidding. Well, we just discovered that there is disturbing video pointing the finger at Southern California Edison for starting the Eaton fire. Southern California Edison has also admitted fault in the Hearst fire.
That was the one burning at the same time as Palisades in Altadena. In Sylmar, that one didn't get to any structures destroyed, but was pretty darn big and pretty darn scary. And yeah, what do you know? SoCal Edison's faulty equipment started that one. For more, here's NBC4.
Right now at 11, we begin with breaking news on the wildfire disaster. SoCal Edison says its equipment may be associated with the ignition of the Hearst fire. That fire was one of several in our area last month. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Annabelle Sedano. Let's get right to it. NBC4's Lauren Coronado has the latest on these breaking developments. Lauren.
Annabelle, good morning. A lot of new information from SCE on their investigation into the Hearst fire and also the Eaton fire, where we're at right now in the burn zone. You might be able to see some of the destruction just behind me. But first, let's get started with what we know about the Hearst fire. In an updated report from SCE, it states the LA Fire Department is investigating the cause of the Hearst fire and suggests SCE's equipment may have caused the fire.
You don't say.
If they're starting out the process acknowledging that they probably started it, that's a done deal.
SCE admits their equipment may be associated, although they did not share how yet. Remember, the Hearst fire.
Well, chances are it's old and faulty and not able to stand up to winds.
There seems to be a pattern going on here.
Remember, the Hearst fire burned.
How much would it have really cost over the last 20 years to underground every power line in the state? Because I guarantee you it's less than the cost of all these fires.
Well, if they end up in bankruptcy court, they might be asking themselves that same question. Why didn't we do that?
And then they'll get bailed out by Gavin.
Remember, the Hearst fire burned about 800 acres in Sylmar last month. Now to the destructive Eaton fire here in Altadena. We've seen this video, a fire sparking near power equipment not far from homes. This morning, SCE says they're exploring the possibility that their equipment was involved in the start of the Eaton fire. But
boy, that's a big difference from, no, we have the proof right here. It wasn't us.
This is just a brutal news cycle for Southern California Edison.
Adds the agency has not identified obvious evidence that supports that idea, like broken conductors. Here's what SCE did say about the investigation.
The cause of the Eaton fire remains unknown. Like you, we have seen information like videos shared by external parties of the fire's early stages.
And they don't look good.
No, they don't.
These are concerning, and they may suggest a possible link to SCE's equipment.
Okay, now the CEO is saying maybe it was us.
If you're a shareholder in Southern California Edison, how nervous are you today?
Investigations have...
Well, not very, because you got to remember, the way the CPUC has worked out deals with PG&E and SoCal Edison is they can bake in to the rates for ratepayers a 10% rate of return for shareholders.
I guess. Nonetheless, though, you never want to end up in bankruptcy court.
Investigations of this scale and complexity take time, and they require specific expertise. But we will not leave any stone unturned. While we do not yet know what caused the Eaton wildfire, we are looking at every possibility in SCE's investigation, including the possibility that the utilities equipment was involved.
That is a far cry from the first time that guy spoke out.
Well, and here's the other damning information for Southern California Edison. It's not like there are conflicting videos that show a homeless encampment starting it or an arsonist starting it. All of the evidence that we have right now suggests that it was their equipment.
Yes, 17 people killed, thousands of homes destroyed by the Eaton fire here in Altadena. And this is where I spoke with Supervisor Catherine Barger about SCE's update.
The fact that they came out with the statement tells me that they may know something that I don't.
Yeah, it does. They're in CYA mode.
Obviously,
I'd lay money down on that.
Obviously, but the investigation should be completed in the next few weeks, and we'll take it from there. I mean, I'm heartbroken. I mean, I'm heartbroken because the devastation to this community is, I can't even put it into words.
Yeah, SCE says their investigation can take several months to complete. And this is
hopefully everyone will just forget about it.
Well, if their investigation takes several months, who cares? If the fire department comes out and says that they were the cause of the fire, then for legal purposes, that's what's going to take.
And this is infrared video of where the Eaton fire burned. Supervisor Barger says many have asked about underground power equipment even before the fire, something she's been in support of and something she's working to implement during the infrastructure rebuild here in Altadena. Back out here live.
How about we start doing that in all the areas that haven't burned down yet?
That seems to be something that might be a good idea to get on.
I mean, you've got Rick Caruso, who's now starting his own nonprofit to have private industry pay to underground power lines. That's how desperate he's getting for this. It's time.
It's unreal that they didn't do this before. I know it's expensive, but not only is it safer, your neighborhoods look a whole lot better if the power lines are underground. You don't want to look out your window and see a bunch of power lines. You want to look out your window and you want to see mountains and blue sky and clouds and all of those things. Not good for Southern California Edison.